So we've made it to my favorite subject out of the toy subjects and choosing toys for your dog. This is going to probably be our longest section. I'm going to start this section by talking about how important I think interactive play is, and also talk about that many of the problems that we solve and reducing probability for certain behavioral problems come from interactive play. What we know is in dogs and children that when play is involved, learning happens faster, it absorbs faster, it takes less repetitions for the dog or child to learn it. And once again, it's fun. It's a great alternative to rewarding with food. And personally, I believe if we can create a dog that likes to play, more often than not, I see the dogs that will work for play outperform the dogs that are working for food. Now, I do know that there are going to be those dogs that just don't have the same drives. There are some dogs that their food drive way outdoes it, and then there's those dogs that really just have no drive whatsoever. But it's important that we experiment with different types of play with our dog, and we also have to understand that there are going to be certain boundaries in our play. So when I talk about playing with a dog, to me, this is something with structure and rules. We've seen some articles come out lately that are kind of missing half the point, but trying to make a good point at the same time. So we'll see articles that are like, playing with your dog and obsessively throwing the ball is bad for your dog. It doesn't tire him out, it gets him adrenalized, it gets him worked up. Yes, that very much could happen. If there is no rule structure, any kind of problem solving in your play, very well you could be creating kind of a dog that is kind of just an arousal junkie, an adrenaline junkie, and has a hard time turning off. So in all of our play, I tell people soccer's more fun because it has rules. Basketball is more fun because it has rules, because we have ways that we can agree that we're going to play this game and cooperate. And obviously, some of those rules may be very specific to the individual dog. For some dogs, arousal climbs really quickly, and we can bring a dog where it starts as play and becomes defensiveness, especially in some of our more intense breeds, like our herding dogs, some of our guardian breeds, maybe some of our bully breeds. We might see defensiveness, we might see possessiveness take over in some of those games. So it's really important we start early by teaching our dogs how to engage us properly, and then manage how much arousal we're bringing into the picture, and create structure and pauses and moments to regroup and refocus with our dogs. So this is huge for me. There's no real better way, in my opinion, for most dogs to bond with somebody than play, as long as that dog has those genetics in them. So without further ado, let's jump into some of the toys. So the first and easiest one to hit on is the ball. Everybody knows about tossing a ball or playing fetch with their dog. But where we often see problems is the type of toys that we choose to play fetch with. So the first thing that I'm going to mention is there's a difference between a dog that self-satisfies and a dog that's interacting. What do I mean by self-satisfying? We've all seen that really squishy ball and the dog that sits there going in their mouth. For that dog, the satisfaction is the squish. It's like the anxiety squish. Now, does that mean your dog is bad if they do this? No, it does not mean that, right? But if your dog is having a hard time or is not interested in bringing the toy to you, is more interested in chewing, laying down with it, or running away with it, this is something to consider. The squishier the toy, the more satisfaction comes from this, the more likely is that the dog doesn't really see you necessary as part of the game. So if you're trying to choose a toy for play and you're finding your dog is more interested in squishing the ball and walking off, there's several changes you can make. One, you can put your dog on a line and encourage them to you. You can work on a solid come command or cue and help your dog learn that bringing the toy back will get you to throw it again. Of course, developing a nice drop it as well can be helpful. You can play the 2-ball game where you have 2 of the exact same toy. You toss one, encourage the dog back, acting like this toy is more exciting. As the dog comes up, drops that toy, you toss this one. Okay, so there's so many ways, and I can't go into all the different ways that you can solve this problem. But that's one of the reasons why we might see a dog that doesn't want to bring the ball back to us. Another scenario or choice of toy that can become problematic for our dogs that are trying to self-satisfy could be something like a tennis ball. For a lot of people, we'll hear them say, oh, my dog gets the ball and just wants to chew the fuzz off of it, or just rips it apart. Well, it's just another thing that makes it kind of fun and interesting and doesn't really encourage that interaction. Okay, so if you see your dog having that tendency, maybe stay away from tennis balls for a little bit. Maybe something more like a racket ball, a Kong ball, a Star Mark ball, a foam ball. Any one of these things could be a solution. Typically, once again, the squishier or the more fuzzy, the more the temptation is going to be to treat this object as a chew object or try to decimate it. So just be mindful of that. Obviously, Kongs still fall into that category of another fun toy. Those, I love the erratic movement because they aren't just round. But there are so many good options for different types of balls. Chuck It is another great one. I'm going to hit on one that I don't like as much for that's come out recently by Chuck It, which is the Breathe Right or Open Airway toys that they put out. I'm gonna be honest, first off, I don't see them holding up to the abuse that a normal Chuck It ball would. Yes, it does solve the problem that the dog could get it stuck in its throat and still be able to breathe. But personally, I just see them getting ripped up or torn apart very easily, and the temptation, since there are all those little open spaces, is for the dog to treat it more like a chew toy. I also just really encourage owners, if you're choosing a toy for retrieval, don't allow the dog the opportunity to start building the habit of chewing the object simply by putting a line on your dog or setting the dog up to where the place that they go to take that toy to self-satisfy is where you position yourself. So the dog is naturally already coming to you. You can trade for a treat, you can trade for a secondary toy. Typically, I recommend the same toy because it stays the same value. You can, if you know other approaches for teaching drop it, which I'm not going to get into quite as much in this video, you can do that as well, okay? And then immediately reward your dog with another toss. So those are my hang-ups with ball toys. Obviously, as we've said before, with your Kongs, with different toys, there should be different toughness levels. So those are my considerations with balls. I'm not a big fan of just leaving a ball down for a dog to excessively play with. It's not necessarily bad, but if your dog isn't showing the drive to, or isn't offering retrieves or doing interactive play with you and you're trying to encourage that more, I don't really want the dog to learn to just focus and self-satisfy. Some dogs go back and forth just fine, so this is a know your dog kind of thing. But I don't want to waste one of the most powerful forms of motivation with my dog just for them to self-satisfy. There are so many other options that I can do that with. I'm going to go ahead and stop this part of the series. We're going to move to our next subject, which is going to be other retrieval toys like bumpers and frisbees. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that.